Artificial intelligence is one of the terms that's been used greatly throughout the last few years, right? And what we see is most of our customers want to do something related to artificial intelligence. How many of you are doing something related to AI, machine learning, deep learning, neural networks? Okay. So when we think about our customers and those who are trying to transform their businesses, right, the key aspects around improving your customer's experience really relates to improving 4 aspects of your business. Right? The first part is around your business operations, thinking about how you can improve the decision-making that exists, thinking about how you can potentially improve innovation. How can you innovate faster? How can you get ideas and products to market faster? And also, how do you focus on the areas that give you a competitive advantage as a business? IDC, one of the leading researchers, has predicted that 40% of digital transformations will be supported by AI this year alone. So AI is integral to how businesses will transform, how businesses will grow, how new companies will grow. And we at Amazon, one of our missions is to make sure that we're able to put machine learning in the hands of every developer. Right? We've since tried to go even beyond that and to say, can we be able to put machine learning, AI, analytics in the hands of any user who wants to be able to use it? Can we democratize AI? Right? This goes along with the way we've worked with our business throughout the years. Right? We've made computing so simple that you don't need to own a data center. You don't have to buy servers anymore. You don't have to buy big behemoth pieces of storage equipment. Right? You have everything available to you in your fingertips. And so when we look at our customers, we have hundreds of customers, thousands of customers who are using our services. We have over 1 million customers, from startups to enterprises to large corporations to government agencies to educational institutions, right? And of these, more and more of these customers are using machine learning capabilities that AWS offers them. Right? So what does that mean for you? Right? How can you think about where machine learning, AI can help you grow your business, help you improve the way you interact with your customers, and improve the way that you can get better results from how you use your customer interactions? So technology and culture come together, and AI is at the heart of it. So when you think about AWS, right, we have a set of services available to all of our customers. Right? For all the non-techies in the room, right, this slide is for you. I could have made this very complicated and tried to pretend like I knew what I was talking about. But if we really think about it, what AWS has done is we've allowed for certain AI services to be consumed by just an API. You don't have to know how to write algorithms. You don't have to know how to code. You don't necessarily have to know in detail how to build a neural network. Right? You can go ahead and have our services look at a picture, recognize it, read documents, be able to translate speech to text, be able to translate text to speech, build a chatbot, be able to go ahead and forecast what your demand or your revenue or what your data might look like, be able to have a personalization or recommendation engine, be able to go ahead and label your data, all with pre-built algorithms, right? Now, for those of you who really want to geek out, we have something for you as well. You're able to actually use the same models that you've developed. You're able to use the same set of services that you're used to, whether it's TensorFlow, writing a model in MXNet, using Caffe, right, on our infrastructure, right? Nowhere else can you get that scale to be able to run thousands, hundreds of thousands of cores across all of your algorithms and be able to get results in a matter of minutes and hours versus days, weeks, and months. So if you think about how AI can help you and your business and how you can interact better with your customers, right? One thing that we're doing is we're allowing customers to automate workflows and then thus reduce their cost. Once you can reduce the cost, you can monetize the content that you present to your customers. So if you look at ALA Credit, what they do is they're trying to interact with the newer generation of their customers, the millennials. How many of you would term yourself millennials? How many of you wish you can call yourself a millennial? Right? So one thing that they've realized is that the millennial generation and the generation that follows is not used to interacting in the same way that their previous generations were related to banking services. They prefer not to go into a branch. They prefer not to have to go to a teller or interact. Right? If they could avoid it, they would avoid going to an ATM. Right? So what they do is they actually use one of the AWS services, Amazon Recognition, to actually analyze images of their customers and verify an individual's identity. Right? Are you who you say you are related to the identification document that you've provided? Right? All without any human intervention. Right? So what does this do? You can go ahead and actually apply for a loan. You can apply for a mortgage, all via the app. Right? We verified your identity. We can verify your information. And now we can speed up the process. And that leads to better and more engaged customers of this generation. If you take a look at Intuit, how many of you are familiar with Intuit? They're a large software provider from the United States. One of the things that they're very well known for is a tax software, right? Filing taxes in the US is not as easy as filing taxes in some other countries. So, and especially if you're a business, they've actually started to utilize Amazon SageMaker to be able to take the receipts that their customers upload and be able to analyze the receipts and then use the machine learning models that are built and customized to be able to at least determine what expenses can be deducted from your taxes. And what this ends up doing is they've actually been able to reduce the time that they deploy these services. They could reduce the time that they deploy any updates and thus be able to release new features to their customers faster, right? Their average customer from a small and medium-sized business was able to find more than 4,000 USD of business expenses that could be deductible. Right? So faster response, better engagement. If you think about how you want to understand your customer, right? Understand the voice of your customer. Lionsbridge, how many are familiar with Lionsbridge? Okay, so Lionsbridge is really around one of the largest translation services available. What Lionsbridge did is they actually use a service called Amazon Translate, which is exactly what it says it does. It translates languages from one to another, but they're actually able to reduce the cost it takes to translate words, phrases, documents by up to 20%. And by reducing the cost it takes to translate, they're able to actually reinvest that money into other parts of the business and to help grow their business and to engage better with their customers. C-SPAN. How many of you are from the US? How many of you have been bored at times and turned on C-SPAN? So C-SPAN is a channel in the US where what they do is broadcast most of the day around things that are happening in the US government, right? It's live speeches from the House of Representatives, from the Senate, right? They talk about political issues, but a lot of it is just broadcasting. What they realized is they had all of this footage. Imagine broadcasting 12 to 20 plus hours of video a day that you're just recording of government legislation, right? People in the government discussing about a certain topic, discussing about voting on bills and laws, etc. They actually decided that they needed to find a way to index all of this. Rather than spend the time to do this internally, in-house, they actually started to put this in cloud, in AWS. And they were actually able to reduce the time it takes to index their videos from 1 hour down to 20 minutes. right? Which allowed them to upload almost 100,000 images in under 2 hours. And now they're able to categorize these images, they're able to put tagging on these images, and then when someone needs to search for either a video or a still image from a video, you're able to give that to them faster. Right? So as you think about this, how are you going to best personalize the customer experience? Right? One of the biggest challenges we see with our customers is they want to be relevant in their customers' lives. They want to be able to give targeted recommendations to their customers for what their customers exactly need. So if you look at Sony Entertainment, right? Sony Entertainment is a division of Sony which focuses on PlayStation. How many of you have a PlayStation or the equivalent? How many of you wish you can throw the PlayStation away that your spouses or your kids have? So what Sony decided to do was they used an AWS SageMaker, Amazon SageMaker, to be able to personalize the recommendations they give their customers. Recommendations related to other games they would like. Recommendations into what are other contents that should be displayed to this person based upon their previous history. And what they wanted to do was to actually improve the interaction the end consumer has. Because they believe if they can present the relevant type of games that that customer may want to play, they can get a better interaction with their marketplace. So as you think about where is the future going, you don't want to just give a recommendation necessarily about here's what other people have looked at that you might like. It's based upon your prior history, combined with what others have done, combined with these other characteristics that we're evaluating, whether it's demographic related, whether it's income related, whether it's related to you as a person and the way that you've played the different games. Did you play a game for 5 minutes, turn it off, and go somewhere else? Combining all of that information to actually give you a broader, richer experience. RB Media really wants to be able to provide the right types of titles and interact with their customers in the best way possible. And the way they do this is they want to recommend that the titles that are given to their customers, whether that's content digitally or content related to a specific system, is actually the most relevant for what their customers need. And thus, they've actually made a way to build, train, and personalize their recommendation engine. And what they believe is if they can give their customers the exact content that they need, these customers will obviously want to buy more and want to engage with them more. Domino's. How many of you like pizza? So Domino's is one of the largest pizza chains, right? They operate mainly in a franchise mechanism. What they have done is they've actually used Amazon Personalized, which is a service, to give the right types of marketing offers to their customers. They want to be able to make sure that when they give you an offer, you would actually want to use it, right? The worst thing is if you're buying pizza and you love pepperoni pizza and you keep buying pepperoni pizza, that you get an offer for some percentage off a vegetarian pizza. So they want to look at customer purchase history. They want to look at what the customer's buying history has been, and then be able to provide the right type of cross-selling or marketing campaign that would be relevant to that customer, right? Combined with what they want to do for that region or for that store or for that franchise. Right? So if you look at the length of time a customer has been there, the types of purchases that they've made, right? The idea is you can get better engagement, you can have much more interaction with your customers and get a broader set of customers who would engage if you can personalize it for them, right? The other part that AI has really been focused on is about localization, right? So if you can reduce the cost it takes to localize the content for a particular market, and you can improve the accuracy, you should be able to get better engagement. So, how many of you are familiar with Tinder? Has anyone swiped right recently? Actually, a funny story. I had a meeting. I was part of a larger meeting, and somehow we got started talking about Tinder. And our head of EMEA was starting asking, okay, so is it left or right? What does it mean? And now I'm forever known as the person who has explained how Tinder works to him. So Tinder, right? You get matched with different people. You can swipe right if you like them. You can swipe left if you don't like them. But that's only one part of their algorithm, right? What they really want to do is to make sure we find that they help a person find the right match to them. And what they've done is they've actually deployed AWS, and they've used Amazon SageMaker and Amazon Recognition to start thinking about how people actually swipe, right? What are the aspects that a person would likes or dislikes about a person? And they start doing meta tags and location filters. And what they want to do is be able to make sure that if I only present you 10 matches, those are the best 10 matches for you, rather than give you 50 matches that you have to swipe and say 90% of them are inaccurate. Right? Customers engage more if they have less, but it's more relevant to them. And what Tinder saw is that they were able to get a 20% increase in their engagement of their customers by localizing the content, being able to make sure that they provided the right types of matches to their customers. And then what they've been also able to do is to tag each of the photos to be able to say, these are the different types of things in a photo. Oh, this person is in a location that is relevant, and so I want to go ahead and provide these other types. StatCast. Is anybody familiar with Major League Baseball or baseball? Not much. Okay. So baseball is a pastime of the United States. AWS has been working with Major League Baseball and developed a technology called StatCast. And StatCast is powered by AWS. It was built by MLB, but using AWS. The point of StatCast is that you want to get better fan engagement. What they've realized is fans who are sitting at home have a different experience than the fans who are sitting in the stadium, which is very obvious. How can you get the fans who are sitting at home to have a more interactive experience, to make it seem like they are in the game, to make it seem like they are in the stadium? Right? How can you go ahead and actually do better analysis to say, if a runner is going to steal a base, what's the likelihood that this runner will steal the base, given all of the conditions that exist, right? Based upon that runner's previous attempts and how successful they were, based upon the team that they're playing, based upon the pitcher, based upon how quickly they run, based upon the weather conditions, and so on. Right? Can you predict this? If a ball is pitched and is hit, can you predict where it will land based upon wind speed, based upon the power of the bat and such? Right? Can you actually improve the scorekeeping that happens? Can you decrease the time it takes to actually, can you decrease the time that's spent on overall the game? Right? One of the largest challenges that baseball has had over the years is games were too long and fans were becoming disinterested. Right? Watching a game for more than 3 hours was not something that fans were appreciating. So how can you think about all of these different aspects and actually decrease the time of the game, increase fan engagement, and thus get more fans to the stadium or to subscribe to packages within their cable subscription? So if you think about AWS and how it all sits, right? There are a set of services that are meant to be used in a very high-level fashion where you interact with an API, right? These are what's at the top level, the AI services. Then there are a set of services which are pre-built that you can customize a bit, you can bring in your own data to train the model, and then you can deploy. This is what we use Amazon SageMaker for. And finally, you have the entire set of infrastructure services, which allows you to bring your own models. You can use whichever framework you want to you decide on. You can decide whichever interface you want, right? We give you our infrastructure to use at your leisure. So if you prefer to use Caffe, if you prefer to use TensorFlow, you're more than welcome to do so. If you just need to use our scale, feel free. If you only need one machine, you're welcome to use one instance. If you need 10,000, you can scale to 10,000, and thus be able to have the impact that you want to work with your customers. I said I wouldn't take too much of your time. With that, I thank you for your time. I will be around for questions, but I also don't want to keep you from having your drinks.
Thank you so much.